Welcome back to another episode of Empathy Here, Not There. I am your host, Curtis Campogni, and today we are talking about a powerful concept that can redefine how you lead. Let's talk about empathy in leadership. When you think of leadership, I imagine sometimes words like authority and management come to mind. But how often do words like connection come to mind? What about truly understanding the people you lead? See, empathy in leadership means being willing to step into the shoes of your team members, to understand their perspectives, their struggles, and their motivations. This isn't about being soft or lowering your expectations. It's about understanding how to guide others in a way that acknowledges their humanity, acknowledges their story. See, empathy just isn't recognizing emotions. It's about experiencing their emotional perspective. As we talk about quite a bit in the other episodes, there are two types of empathy. There's cognitive, which helps you understand someone's thoughts, and emotional empathy, which allows you to feel what they feel. In leadership, both forms are crucial. For example, I remember working with a supervisor who constantly received pushback from their team. Rather than confront the team head on, we used empathy to address the root of the issue. By stepping into their shoes, the supervisor realized the team felt micromanaged. This was then leading to frustration. So we encouraged more autonomy, and the shift was immediate. The team engagement improved, trust was restored, and it wasn't about control. It became about a culture of creating understanding. See, this old school idea that leaders need to maintain strict control over their team to achieve success is just outdated, and it doesn't apply to the current workforce. We've seen time and time again the most successful leaders, the ones people want to follow, are those who inspire, not dictate. Compassionate leadership doesn't mean just letting people off the hook, letting them get away with things. It means motivating them in ways that connect with their personal values and, of course, their challenges. We're all going through something that can't be seen on the surface. Are you willing to take an effort to understand what that means and the impact that's having on a person? One of the fundamental principles of motivational interviewing, which you know I believe in more than probably any other communication style, is that people are motivated to change when they feel heard and they feel supported. As I've experienced in the sessions that I conduct when we do motivational interviewing leadership, we recognize the inherent strengths of our team members instead of imposing solutions on them. What this does is creates a collaborative, non-judgmental environment where innovation is then allowed to thrive. And give you an example of this, I once had a team member who was struggling with deadlines, getting things done on time. Instead of enforcing stricter timelines or threatening consequences, we had an open conversation where I listened to what was really going on. It turned out they were dealing with a personal issue that was affecting their focus. There was something going on in their personal life that was draining them, that was emptying their cup. But by showing some compassion, offering some flexibility, the team member did rebound quickly and they became more productive than ever. Sometimes a little understanding goes a long way. Now, that's not always going to fix everything. You can't change someone. You can't fix someone. But the idea here is, are you creating interactions that encourage growth? So let's talk about, if you're a leader or you're thinking about going into leadership, how can you bring empathy into your leadership style? So here are 3 keys to make empathy part of your leadership toolkit, your leadership tool belt. So let's talk about it. 1, very basic one, common one. We talk about this quite a bit, active listening. Don't just listen to reply, listen to understand. Give your team members space to express what is really going on, both in work and in personal life, as long as we don't cross that line. When you're in a leadership position, you believe you are in it because you have a certain level of expertise and experience and skills and guidance and feedback to give, which is great. And you do have that if you were put into that position, we are assuming. However, when you believe you know the answer, it sometimes causes you to go to solution finding a little too quick before fully understanding what's happening. And back to motivational interviewing for a second, active listening is a cornerstone of MI and empathy, because it allows you to fully engage with the speaker, fully engage with your team member. You show them that you value their thoughts. You appreciate that they're sharing their concerns. By doing this, you foster psychological safety, where employees can feel confident sharing ideas without fear of judgment. You want people to feel like they can interject information, questions, thoughts that might not go with the current narrative. You want them to feel safe to do that, so you as a leader can identify the best path forward. In one of my leadership roles, I had a team member who often clashed with others during meetings. They would always get in these back and forths. So instead of addressing like the surface level behavior of what I was seeing, I pulled them aside for one-on-one conversation where I was able to truly listen. What I found is that they felt their contributions weren't being valued. Once I acknowledged that frustration and worked to create space for their input, their behavior changed. And so did the dynamic of our meetings. It was less tense. That energy in the room that was not that great started to go away, and we were able to shift towards some real collaborative discussions that allowed us to increase the team dynamic. And one more thing about active listening I want to mention to you, because I bring this up all the time. You cannot be an active listener unless you truly care about what your team member is saying. I do want to put this warning out here for you. I'm telling you to active listening, and if you're like, all right, I'm gonna go active listen to my employee, but then you find your mind like going different places, that's because you're not necessarily being authentic in your desire to hear their perspective. In other words, you can't fake it. You have to truly be curious about what your team members are thinking, feeling, and their contributions to what's happening. So to be an active listener, you got to be locked in, you got to be curious. So that's number one. Let's talk about number two. You cannot be an active listener unless someone is talking. So how are they going to talk? You have to ask open-ended questions. Instead of asking yes or no questions, ask questions that get to the heart of the matter. How can I support you right now? What's been challenging for you lately? These questions build trust, and they open up to have some real conversations. I mean, in the end, open-ended questions, they're just key to empowering others. In one of my experiences as a director, rather than telling team members what to do, and I had to learn this fairly quickly, I'd ask questions like, what do you think would improve our team? What do you think would improve the way we deliver services? This encouraged ownership of the solution, leading to better results, because now they feel empowered to make those results happen because they had a say in them. I remember I had a project where team members were struggling with coming up with creative ideas to solve a problem. My initial thought is, all right, let me give them the ideas or like point them in the direction. But instead, I just started asking open-ended questions. I said, what direction do you think we should explore? This simple shift led to creative input and this creative discussion that I haven't seen up until that point. And the team really did come up with a brilliant solution on their own. And all it took was taking a step back and empowering them with the right questions. So number one, just to recap, we got to active listen. You can't active listen unless you do number two, which is ask open-ended questions. And then obviously the third one, after you've done all that, we have to respond with action. So empathy without action is hollow. Once you understand what someone's going through, you need to take the steps to show you're invested in helping them succeed. I've seen that quite a bit where you had a leader or a supervisor who was good at sitting down and listening and was a great active listener, but nothing would change. There would be really no tangible actions that would go with the listening. So eventually the team members just stopped talking. So you gotta take some action. That might be offering resources, figuring out ways to create more flexibility, really sitting down with them and creating a plan. Your empathy needs to lead to concrete support. I remember during like a real stressful situation at work, one of my employees, you could see they were just clearly overwhelmed. They weren't openly telling me they were, but you could just see it all over them. So I made some time to sit down with them, and instead of just acknowledging they're stressed, I took some action by offering them a different workload and even mandated they take an extra day off to recharge. And they didn't really want to be honest, but I was like, no, this is your mental health day. Take it. I got this. I got you. And the result, they returned more focused and energized. They appreciated the support on that end. They needed it. They just didn't think they could ask it. So empathy isn't just about listening. It's about taking steps to make sure the person feels supported. So here's the thing. Empathy isn't just for the workplace. The skills you develop in empathetic leadership can also have an impact in your personal life. So even if right now you're not in a position where you consider yourself a leader or a supervisor or a manager, what we're talking about can apply to your personal life, where I'm sure you're leading or having a leadership effect on someone, whether it's family, your friends, your partners. Leading with compassion will help you build stronger, more meaningful relationships. So the idea is when you guide with understanding, people feel heard, people feel valued, and this can all lead to deeper connections and more positive outcomes. So empathy in interpersonal relationships, for example, works the same way it does in the workplace. When you understand someone's emotional experience, it's vital to maintaining those healthy connections. I even found that applying these principles with my family is just as powerful as I might in leadership. For instance, when our little superhero, a little girl, was upset over something at school, even though my initial inclination was like to solve it and fix it, I simply sat with her, asked some questions, something like, how does that make you feel? And I really listened, and it strengthened our bond. She felt heard, which really is just the ultimate goal of empathy, right? So even if you're not in a position in your workplace where you're like, I'm not there yet, see if we can use some of these techniques and these skills in your personal life to have a positive impact on those people. Let's do this. To all the leaders out there, whether you're running a company, a team, or you're just trying to inspire change in your life or your personal life, know that empathy is one of your greatest tools. Leading with compassion just doesn't make you a better boss. It can make you a better human. And that's the kind of leadership that leaves a lasting legacy. And that's what it's about. It's not about those tangible items you have. It's what was the impact that you had on others? How did you make them feel? So that's it. This is the Empathy Here, Not There podcast, Empathy and Leadership. If you found today's episode helpful, I encourage you to take one action this week to lead with empathy. Whether it's listening more deeply, whether it's asking a more powerful question, offering support to someone who needs it, that is your challenge after listening to this podcast. Go do that thing. And as always, I would like you to continue this conversation or engage in this conversation with me. Comment in the comments, send me an email, Curtis@SpeakForMC. If you want to take a deeper dive into empathy and bring me out for a training or a workshop, just go to speakformc.com and we will make it happen. Let's make empathy the driving force behind real change in our communities, in our workplaces, with our leaders. Let's hold our leaders accountable, and let's hold ourselves accountable for making sure that our leadership style has empathy in it. So, thank you for listening, and remember, empathy starts here, not there. Or does it? I'll see you for the next episode. Bye, everybody. Peace.